Good evening. Welcome to the QCIS channel. We're on this channel. You get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. My name is Leon Jones, and what I'm going to talk about tonight is a type of inspection that you can say is part of construction, and it's not commercial, but it's the same as commercial. And what I'm talking about is home inspection. Now, home inspection is a type of inspection that realtors use to try to sell a house. And if you move into an apartment complex, you should also do an inspection to basically take down and report form, or we could say document the deficiencies, because you can be liable if there are any defects in the apartment that you didn't check, and it will come out of your security deposit. I know, I've gone through that. Now, basically, when we do any type of inspection, we're looking for compliance within the specifications. We're looking for quality. We're looking for safety. Well, basically, when we deal with a home inspection, we're assessing the property and we're utilizing a visual. Now, there are different types of home inspections. There's new construction within home inspection. There's radon, there's mechanical, there's structural. Now, for the most part, you have the American Society of Home Inspectors. That is an association. You also have InterNASHI. That's another organization. And with home inspection, you have to have a license. So that means you're taking a nationalized test. Also, you have to go out in the field with an experienced home inspector just to see how home inspections are done. You also have to have general liability insurance. Now, home inspection can be risky if you don't know what you're looking at. So you need to understand the reporting process. You need to understand the plans. So basically, when we deal with a home inspection, we're assessing the property. Now, I'm going to share my screen, and we're looking at, well, what is a home inspection? Again, I just mentioned it. Home inspection is a visual assessment of a property's condition conducted by a professional inspector to identify problems, defects, or safety hazards before a buyer completes a purchase. Now, the purpose of a home inspection, I'm going to give you a little bit more detail, is home inspectors typically examine various, I didn't say every. The word various means something, but various aspects of a home. And that includes the structure, foundation, the walls, the roof, and the overall structural integrity. The systems, your plumbing, electrical, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and other relative systems. And those systems are very relevant to the operation of making sure that you have MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And you also have your exterior, your roof, your siding, your windows, your doors, and any other exterior features. Your interior, your ceilings, floors, walls, and interior finishes. And then your safety, your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors, and other safety. Now, there are also radon inspections, swimming pool inspections. Now, the process is a buyer typically hires a home inspector after making an offer on a property, but they do that before closing the deal. So the inspector is hired before closing the deal. Now, again, the inspector conducts a thorough visual inspection of the property, documenting any issues they find. And then the inspector provides the buyer with a detailed report outlining their findings. Out of benefits, early detection of problems. Home inspectors can help uncover potential problems early on. Again, before you buy a house, this is if you understand what inspections are. Home inspections can help uncover potential problems early on while allowing buyers to address them before closing or negotiating repairs or at a lower purchase price. Informed decision making. So the inspection report provides buyers with a valuable information, with valuable information about the property's condition. Again, when you do any type of inspection, you must utilize a report. And again, that inspection report provides buyers with valuable information about the property's condition, enabling them to make an informed decision about their purpose. And there is also a reduced risk, and that's by identifying potential problems. Home inspectors can help reduce the risk of costly repairs or unexpected issues after closing. Now, there are limitations. Now, and this is very pertinent. Home inspections are typically visual, meaning inspectors cannot access hidden areas or perform destructive testing. Inspectors are not typically qualified to provide estimates for repairs or offer opinions on the cost of repairs. And there is no guarantee that a home inspection will catch every possible problem. Now, that is true because you also have to look at the issue with, let's say, rodents. That's part of the home inspection. Now, a home inspector is not an engineer, so they cannot assess any type of engineering problems. That means drainage. A home inspector is not a surveyor, so they can't determine where properties or boundary lines lie. Purpose of home inspection is to assess the property before making a purchase. Now, let me go on to my PowerPoint presentation here. And like to put some visuals up as I share my screen again. And this is from NASHI, the National Association of Certified Home Inspectors. It's about 20 years old, but the information is still relevant. What is a home inspection? As the overview, inspections, buyers pre-purchase, sellers pre-listing, new construction, warranty, safety, maintenance, multi-unit, investor property, commercial property. Again, the benefits, features, a home inspection gives the client an understanding of the house's condition, good and bad. Education is empowerment. It helps to comfort doubts and eliminate surprises. Of course, the buyer knows what they can expect, budget for, and better research contractors and materials. Of course, the seller knows property condition and can better and more realistically set a price. Also allows you to evaluate your house through the eyes of an objective third party. So how will a prospective buyer see your home? How can you maximize that critical first impression? It also helps you set the price, your house realistically, and gives you the ability to maximize the sale price. So basically, so many homes do not sell simply because the owner has no objective way of knowing what it is really worth to a potential buyer. Now, the pre-listing inspection, it permits you to make some or all of the needed repairs ahead of time so that defects won't become negotiating stumbling blocks later. You will have the time to get reasonably priced contractors to make repairs if qualified without of having to scramble to meet a purchase contract imposed time frame. It may encourage the buyer to waive the inspection contingency. It may alert you of items of immediate personal concerns, such as radon gas, termite infestation, and asbestos. And it will also relieve the prospective buyer's concerns and suspicions. Also, with the seller's pre-listing inspection, it reduces your liability by adding professional supporting documentation to your disclosure statement. Now, with this inspection, it's provided that the buyer gets an understanding of the residential condition. It may help to discover items that the seller was not even aware of. It also allows the buyers to more realistically approach the purchase. It helps buyers to budget for repairs and maintenance. Educates first time and even seasoned buyers. And when I'm talking about education, well, it allows first time and seasoned buyers to understand houses, their components, their systems, and the proper care and feeding of a home. And it leads to better upkeep, regular maintenance, and smarter decisions and improvements. And it contributes to better housing stock in the community. And remember, knowledge is power. Now, the new construction inspection, the whole housing paradigm is changing. Fewer big new housing developments and more tear down and build up houses. Small builders who build 3 to 4 houses a year. New inexperienced general contractors. Less expensive and experienced labor pool. New materials and technology. There is also a wide difference in building codes between municipalities. Then you have the new construction warranty. So no more arguing or dispute over what is covered by the warranty and what is normal wear and tear. So the client has a legal enforcement defect report based upon state standards and practices. Also, inexpensive fixes are the rule. So basically, most warranty defects are easily fixed. The inspector can also help in this process. Understand that the inspector will and can act as a mediator between the builder and owner. It's just like when I go out and inspect a project. Well, I'm the mediator between what the contractor is placing and the owner. Rental property security deposit inspection. Well, it creates a legally binding report of the condition of the rental property before and after the lease. So no more arguing about what is whose responsibility. And it protects both parties with an objective and experienced professional presence. It provides unbiased expert testimony in court disputes. Again, this is for rental properties, and you should do an inspection before you move into your apartment or any rental facility, because you might be involved with a slumlord later on. You don't know. Protect yourself with the documentation, understand what the inspection process is about. And then we have to utilize inspections for maintenance and safety. And it guides the client to the best and most cost-effective way to maintain their house. Provides an expert and unbiased resource in choosing contractors, materials, and techniques. Also helps to identify small defects before they become large and expensive. And it provides a peace of mind with regards to safety issues, furnace, water heater, fire, pest, radon, and water damage. Now, there's another one called commercial property inspections. So just as with a residential inspection, it provides the buyer and the seller with a complete and accurate picture of the property's condition. It also protects the property's integrity and value. Now, one thing you must understand between a residential inspection and a commercial inspection, well, commercial property is more expensive. So, and it's expensive because it costs more to purchase and maintain. So therefore, commercial buyers want extra assurance as to the condition of the property. So what would be next? Now, of course, I'm using the state of Illinois as an example because you have to choose an inspector. Again, you have to choose an inspector. So state licensing is required in the state of Illinois. Again, now this is real crazy. And I disagree with this. Now, this is for Illinois. You're required to have a license in Illinois, but insurance isn't required. But I'm going to tell you this. Well, here in Indiana, state licensing is required and insurance is required. And I'm just going to say this. Good inspectors are fully insured. Why? Because it protects both the client and the realtor. Now, just like in design at an engineering firm, you need to get what we call E&O insurance, which is errors and omissions insurance. It protects against inspection errors. Then you have general liability insurance. It protects against inspector caused damage and injury. And you also have fidelity bonding. It protects against missing items, both the inspector and the realtor. Again, when we choose an inspector, we look at the narrative report with color pictures and diagrams versus a checklist type of report. So basically, within 48 hours of the inspection, usually less than 24 hours, rather than an on-the-spot report, double checking is crucial. Use the latest technology, like a gas detector, infrared thermometer, a circuit analyzer, both prong and deep probing moisture meters, thermography, appliance serial number verification, and something else, and this is key, pricing. You get what you pay for. Now you have to put everything together, particularly if you want to go into business yourself. Now, I plan on going into the home inspection business. I mean, this channel is actually based off the name of my company called Quality Control Inspection Services. So when we deal again with the pricing, you have to look at the insurance, the narrative reporting, newest technology, and continual training costs. And also, before you can even take the nationwide test, you have to take a class in home inspection. And then you go out in the field. Now, basically, you charge by the square foot. So relative 2-3 bedroom condo, it's going to be around $300. Townhouse is $350. A single family home, less than 2,500 square feet, is $400. 25 to 400 square feet is $500. 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, $600. And you'll have to work out a price, anything over 5,000 square foot per square footage. These are generally the prices. Now, where do you find a home inspector? Well, www.nashi.org. Search for an inspector by city or zip code in the U.S. and 7 other counties. Members of the National Association of Certified Home Inspectors have the highest standards, ethics, and professionalism. and require more than 24 continuing education hours a year, 4 times more than the state of Illinois requirements. So basically, broken it down of what is home inspection. And to me, a home inspection is just like another quality inspection. Now, again, even your best inspectors, they're not going to see everything. Now, one aspect when you buy a house that people don't know, you should look at the plans. Now, you can go and find the plat of where the house sits down at the courthouse, but the plat deals with your survey, the property, boundaries. But if you have the plans of the house, then you can get an idea of your square footage and you can make an estimate then. Because remember, when you are inspecting houses, you're not just inspecting ranch houses. Houses have basements, and then they have a first floor and a second floor. So that's a lot of square footage that you are inspecting, and expect to be on the site for a couple of hours. And you want to make sure that you have the best reporting software. Because again, home inspection is in demand, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. Now, if you are an engineer and you really want to go into the home inspection business, you can actually look at the forensics, like if they have a crack in a concrete wall or foundation. Now, an engineer can look at it because they're licensed. And this is why it's very important to get educated before you go into any type of inspection. Certainly, you have a number of people that can read plans and specs. However, you need to have the education, and there are a number of people who don't have the education. There are a number of people who don't have the experience either. You need both, but you need to understand how the process works in home inspection. So basically, to go over everything, when you are a home inspector, you're basically looking at the property, taking a visual to see what deficiencies you have before you make a purchase. And if you're doing rental properties, you're going to do the same thing. If you're doing commercial properties, you're going to do the same thing. Bottom line is, it's for safety, it's for health, and it's to give you a comfortable solution, especially if you don't know, because you have a number of people who purchase houses and some of them don't even know what they are really purchasing. But in the end, home inspection is a visual inspection, so you can gather information about the deficiencies of a potential home. And it's good for the buyers and the purchasers, people who are purchasing the property. But in the end, if you want more information, check out International, the American Society of Home Inspectors. And if you want to get into the field of home inspection, there are many courses out there. And in the end, you want to be a good inspector. A good inspector who has a good reputation is going to get a lot of work. A bad inspector, your name will travel around. You'll be out of business before you start making money. So that concludes this topic on what is home inspection. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some political content and some social content, check out my main channel, the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show channel. You can find me on the main channel, find me on YouTube, Rumble, X, formerly Twitter, and Truth Social. On this channel, the QCIS channel, also find me on YouTube. You can find me on X, formerly Twitter. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And once again, thank you for taking your time out to listen to this content on what is a home inspection right here on the QCIS channel. And on this channel, get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Until next time, my name is Leon Jones. Enjoy, have a wonderful and gracious evening.